Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here tonight to talk about the rape of a 16-year-old at a drinking party where the rapists were two local heroes because they played for Big Red, the big reputation local high school football team in a town where work is too rare and prosperity is too rare, and Norman Rockwell's look at America is too rare, and heavy drinking and drug addiction and crime are too common. No, I'm here to talk to you about why they call Steubenville, Ohio, Stupidville, or why kids post pictures on the net of themselves before and after having raped people, and why people then threaten rape victims with murder. I'm not here to talk about the decay of a society that needs root and branch therapy. I am here tonight to specifically talk about a media culture that enables sympathy for the devil. It's time for some Canadian common sense. I want to show you some excerpts from a tape from a St. Patrick's Day broadcast. CNN was airing one of its Sunday morning political shows with Candy Crowley. There was breaking news about the trial of two high school football players in Ohio accused of raping a 16-year-old. They were not tried as adults. It was a juvie courtroom. The judge had just pronounced the guilty verdict. This is CNN's take on the situation.
It was incredibly emotional, incredibly difficult, even for an outsider like me, to watch what happened as these two young men that had such promising futures, star football players, very good students, literally watched as they believed their life fell apart. One of the young men, Malik Richmond, when that sentence came down, he collapsed. He collapsed in the arms of his attorney, Walter Madison. He said to him, "My life is over. No one is going to want me now."
Those poor boys with so much promise, those poor boys. These are rapists. Raping a defenseless 16-year-old girl, taking pictures of her to spread on social media. And now, according to CNN, the rapists' lives have been ruined as if they were the victims. Folks, here's what a victim looks like. One of the shocking pics now blurred out of the 16-year-old girl being treated like a toy, like a plaything. She barely got a mention from CNN. Instead, they kept hammering on how the lives of these boys were ruined.
I would truly like to apologize to Elena, our family, my family, and the community. No picture should have been sent around, let alone even taken. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say, Malik?
I would like to apologize to you people. I had no intention to do anything like that. I'm sorry to put you guys through this. That's just not...
CNN going on to intone that it was the boys' upbringing that was to blame.
Something that came up throughout this sentencing, Candy, was that Malik's father got up and spoke. Malik has been living with guardians. His father, a former alcoholic, gotten into a lot of trouble with the law, been in prison before. And his father stood up and he told the court, "I feel responsible for this. I feel like I wasn't there for my son." And before that, he came over to the bench where his son was sitting. He approached him, he hugged him, and he whispered in his ear. And Malik's attorney said to us in the courtroom, "I have never heard Malik's father before say, 'I love you.'" He's never told his son that, but he just did today.
Yeah. And then the final hammer blow from the media to our sensibilities. CNN brings on a legal expert to discuss how this will haunt these poor boys, rapists, for the rest of their lives.
You know, Paul, a 16-year-old now just sobbing in court, regardless of what big football players they are, they still sound like 16-year-olds. The other one, 17, a 16-year-old victim. The thing is, when you listen to it and you realize that they could stay until they're 21, they are going to get credit for time served. What's the lasting effect, though, on two young men being found guilty in juvenile court of rape, essentially?
Yeah, the most severe thing with these young men is being labeled as registered sex offenders. That label is now placed on them by Ohio law. And by the way, the laws in most other states now require such a designation in the face of such a serious crime. That will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Folks, in journalism, sometimes the story just writes itself. Nobody watching this media debauchery could come away with any conclusion other than this one. The media people, seasoned professionals, Poppy Harlow, Candy Crowley, They need a sabbatical. They need a rest. Maybe 6 months, maybe 6 years. But they need to get away from what it is they're doing for a while. They need to get in touch with real human beings and real values. Because in the real world they were both born in, there was no sympathy for murderers and rapists, no matter how young or old they were. None. The world they were brought up in, the pre-Jerry Springer, pre-24/7 talk media, pre-Facebook, pre-smartphone, pre-dumb phone, that world they came from, some things were black and white. Yes or no. Guilty or not guilty. Responsible or not responsible. Deserving of sympathy or deserving none at all. In the world that Candy and Poppy were brought up in, we didn't care about the feelings of the rapist when being told by a judge he was going to prison and that he was going to be known as a rapist for the rest of his life. The law in Ohio says these teens, 116, 117, will be listed in a sex offender registry for the rest of their natural lives. Should that bother us? The crystal clear answer is no. Does it bother Candy and Poppy? Well, apparently it bothers them a lot. And that bothers me. And it should bother you. Look, I'm not looking for Salem. Not looking to frame people as witches. I'm looking to stop pretending that the sinners are just saints who occasionally make mistakes. And when they do, our job is to blame social media or alcohol or football or daddy never told him that he loved him, or poverty of the victim who was raped while passed out, who had pictures taken of her by the rapists who bragged about their activity that night, who for some reason are worthy of Candy and Poppy's concern. My concern is that too many who watch TV, or to be more accurate, too many who watch clips from TV on their smartphones, dumb phones. My concern is they're getting the impression that this is how criminals should be portrayed. Criminals should be portrayed as victims of society's mistakes, and that victims should be treated as collateral damage of a society struggling to find itself, to find its soul. I don't disagree that our society has lost its moorings in many ways. But I expect media professionals to be among those who keep us grounded, who remind us of what is right and what is wrong. Now, maybe I expect too much. Maybe it's time all of us stopped expecting too much of them and started demanding more of ourselves. Maybe it's time for us to have a long talk with ourselves about what really matters in life and why. Look, I still want to believe that Candy and Poppy were drunk on St. Patrick's Day. I still want to believe they'd been drinking the toxic brew of popular media culture, the kind that makes you think that up is down, down is up, the kind that makes you think that real values have a shelf life that need to be thrown out regularly. Candy and Poppy need a long break so they can discover that values are not milk. Values don't go sour. But I can guarantee you that society can and does go sour if the guardians of values leave their post. And I can guarantee you they went AWOL on St. Paddy's Day. The real-life consequences of that kind of behavior enables more of the same, helps to turn their country and ours into one big Stupidville. I don't want to live in Stupidville. Do you? That's Canadian common sense.